Hey, Peter here with MyFSHD. You know, some of you get your reports back and it will say you have a chromosome 4AL. And you're like, what is that? You know, what's 4AL or what's 4A? You know, it's just, well, anyway, take 2 minutes and we'll go over it for you right now.
Okay, so the first genetic analysis we do is in section 2, and we're checking to see whether you're FSHD permissive or non-permissive. And so some of you may have 4A161L. Okay, 4AL is FSHD permissive, and so this means you have the potential to be FSHD. Okay, so what is chromosome 4AL? Well, perhaps we should start with what is chromosome 4A. All right, so you'll know that the last D4Z4 repeat unit in a D4Z4 array is the one that matters in FSHD. This is the one that makes the DUX4 mRNA that needs to be spliced, processed, and then polyadenylated in order to be stabilized and transported to the cytoplasm and made into protein, right? And this is carried out. The key element here genetically is this polyadenylation signal that is located at chromosome 4A. And this is what we mean by being FSHD permissive, all right? So the key area also is in this region for our FSHD methylation testing, okay? This is the region that we analyze to determine yes or no as an individual consistent with being FSHD or not FSHD, okay? So this region has two key determinants, right? Polyadenylation signal, meaning it's FSHD permissive, and is the region that is analyzed for most people in respect to FSHD or not FSHD epigenetically. So what's 4AL? Well, 4AL is going to be this larger D4Z4 fragment that's here in intron 2 of the DUX4 mRNA. Now the mRNA can still be made, it's still going to be spliced, and there's a polyadenylation signal down here distal to the region that makes it 4AL. Okay, so this is permissive, but the key is this is just larger or longer or L. Okay, so this is the key region. And so the second part is the same as with 4A, is that this is the region that's going to be analyzed for epigenetic analysis to determine, based on DNA methylation, FSHD or not FSHD. Now you'll notice that this circle this is the region, this DNA sequence that's being analyzed is going to be different in 4AL than in 4A. And this is very important, one, because it's a sequence-based technology and we need to know the sequence that we're analyzed in order to amplify the right region, right? Primers that amplify 4A do not work on 4AL, and vice versa, those that work on 4AL do not work on 4A. So we need to know it for an analysis purpose. But also, 4AL is going to have different metrics than 4A. 4AL chromosomes tend to be higher methylation in FSHD than 4A, and you'll see that on the next slide. Okay, so here's an example of an FSHD profile coming from 4AL. You'll see that we're going to look at the first quartile, and it's 38.1%. That's actually very high DNA methylation. Okay, in fact, originally we were having trouble analyzing or correctly 4AL because we would typically say that this is too high to be FSHD. Not for 4AL. The metrics are going to be different, okay? We're going to always use the first quartile, and it needs just to be less than 40%, and that's an FSHD profile. Then we're going to look at the 5th percentile, and that's less than 30%. Often, okay, that's FSHD. And then the first percentile is almost always 0 to 5%. And quite honestly, it's almost always 0%. And you never see 0%, even 0 to 5, in someone that's not FSHD linked to chromosome 4AL. You can almost use these two metrics alone to determine FSHD yes or no for 4AL. And that's very different than what we see for the traditional 4A, right, the BSSA assay that is the majority of the population. Right here, the quartile changes depending on whether you have one chromosome 4A or two chromosome 4As. If you have two chromosome 4As, we use quartile 1. If you have one chromosome 4A, we use quartile 2. Okay, so that's the first difference. In that 4AL, we always use Q1. Okay, and then the determination of FSHD or not FSHD is your relevant quartile needs to be less than 26%. And you can see right away, I mean, this is much higher. In fact, greater than 35% is very unlikely and virtually never FSHD unless you're mosaic. Okay, so the metrics for 4AL are very different than 4A. And the fifth percentile in 4A is 0 to 13%. Again, less than 30%, right? This would not be FSHD if it's a 4A, but 4AL, this is very clearly FSHD. In fact, it's always FSHD. Okay, so you can see these metrics are very different, which also makes it kind of difficult to compare 4A to 4AL, because really, looking at these numbers, you might say, oh, this 4AL is very mild and this 4A is very severe. Actually, you have to compare 4AL to 4AL and 4A to 4A. All right. Now, here's some other 4AL profiles, right? We do have some that fall into a more, common FSHD range, right? 28%. Now, this actually would be, kind of a more severe range for 4AL. And you look at the fifth percentile, again, a little bit lower, 14%, and the first percentile down at 0%. All right. But again, the second quartile that would be used typically for 4A is very high. So the metrics for 4AL are just much higher. It took us a while to learn this, so we really appreciate all of you people around the world that have been participating in our research testing to make sure we get this right. But now we understand 4AL. It's just a different sequence, and it has different diagnostic metrics, and it's actually very, very important.
Well, there you have it. 4AL is just a slight sequence variation on 4A. It's FSHD permissive. And, it's really important when we do the analysis, and it has slightly different metrics for methylation and determining FSHD. So hope you understand it. If not, send me an email. We'll set up a call. Whatever, and we'll make sure that it's all clear. Take care.